Oh, can you imagine the moment my ex Damon stared right into the judge's eyes and declared, "She's unstable. She lies to our daughter. I want full custody." It was like a punch to my gut, the air whooshing out of my lungs. He said it so calmly, as if it were an undeniable truth, and the judge God, she seemed to buy it. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shout something, anything but my voice. It betrayed me, leaving me silent. There I was, heart pounding like a drum, frozen in that unforgiving courtroom chair, while the man who once whispered, "I love you," painted me as a threat to the one person I'd die for, my daughter Mila. She was right behind me, clutching my mom's hand, only 7 years old, but those wide brown eyes of hers, they saw everything locked onto mine. Could she feel it too? I was drowning, and not a single soul was tossing me a lifeline. Damon, my ex-husband, strutted in, wearing a navy blue suit, looking like he was about to charm a TED Talk audience. So smooth, so rehearsed, this was the same guy who'd lose it over a wrong takeout order, screaming at me in the car. Yet there he sat, the picture of responsibility before Judge Harmon. Charming. Oh, he always was. That was the trap. When the judge asked if I had anything to say, I opened my mouth, but all that escaped was a shaky breath. My lawyer just glanced at me, silent. The courtroom. Dead quiet. My hands trembled. Could I really lose Mila? It felt like no one saw the truth, like I was invisible. Then out of nowhere, a small, clear voice cut through the silence. "Your Honor, I brought a video from Daddy's phone. I think you should see it." Everything froze. The gallery turned, the bailiff looked baffled, and Damon. His face went pale as a ghost. For the first time that morning, Judge Harmon's eyes widened in surprise. Mila, my brave little girl, stood up, gripping her pink school tablet. No tears, no fear, just courage radiating from her tiny frame. Can you believe it? She marched to the front, past those creaky wooden benches, past the man trying to rip her from me, and handed the judge her tablet. I was stunned. I didn't even know she'd brought it. What had she recorded? Did she even know how to use Damon's phone? But something told me everything was about to change. The judge took the tablet, her voice steady. "What is this?" Mila, soft but sure, answered. "From last weekend. Daddy said those things when I was supposed to be asleep, but I wasn't. He was so mad, I thought, if you don't believe Mommy, maybe you'll believe him." My heart shattered. My 7-year-old had done what I couldn't. She stood tall and spoke the truth. Suddenly, that courtroom where I'd felt so small belonged to Mila. Before all this, the suits, the silence. The judge's piercing gaze. There was just us, me and Mila, in our cozy little world. Our apartment, nothing fancy, just 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom and floors that groaned after 10 p.m. But Mila, she adored it, called it our nest. Those pink curtains in her room, she said they made it look like a cotton candy cloud. How sweet is that? Most nights she'd snuggle on her bed with her stuffed penguin Pepper, begging for 2 stories instead of 1. Did I ever say no? Never. I worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, scraping by just enough to keep us afloat. My mom, Carolyn, lived a few blocks away, always ready to watch Mila when deadlines loomed. She's the kind of mom who might fumble her words but never fails to show up, sneaking in lasagna or scrubbing my bathroom when I wasn't looking. "You're doing better than you think, Arya," she'd say, and for a while I believed her. Didn't I want to? Mila at 7 was whip-smart, soft-hearted, and so observant it could unsettle grown-ups. Her questions, they made you think twice before dodging the truth. One night she caught me crying in the kitchen, silent tears in the dark. She didn't say a word, just draped her blanket over my shoulders. That's the kind of child she was. How could you not love her? Our favorite ritual was the truth jar, started after Damon and I split. I told Mila, write down any question, anything confusing or scary, and we'll read one together each night. Some were silly, why do people snore, but others, they cut deep. Will Daddy stop loving me if I stay with you? I always told her the truth, no matter how it stung. Didn't she deserve that the divorce was messy? Oh, was it ever? Damon didn't want custody so much as control. Joint custody on paper. Sure, but in reality, he pushed for more questioning every choice I made. What I fed her, if I was 2 minutes late picking her up, he had something to say. After his weekends, Mila would come home quiet, withdrawn, sometimes not speaking until Tuesday. Can you imagine how that broke my heart? I raised it in court, but Damon, he was a master at playing the part. A former college athlete turned sales executive. He could make anyone laugh, remembering everyone's name with that dazzling smile. Confidence. It was his second skin. In public, he was charming. In private, he'd snap over spilled juice or a missing charger. Who was this man? I kept records, every email, every message. I had a folder stuffed with texts where he called me unstable hurling names no child should hear about their mom. But I never showed Mila. Wasn't I protecting her one night after a tense drop-off? She asked Mommy, "Do you ever get scared around Daddy?" I froze. She stared at her cereal and whispered, "I do, but I think I'm not supposed to say that." That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering had I failed her by not fighting harder, by trying too hard to keep the peace. Weeks later, Damon filed for full custody, claiming I was emotionally damaging Mila, lying about him, unable to provide stability. His lawyer's statements called me erratic, unreliable, mentally unfit. Reading those words, my hands shook so hard I sank to the floor. Carolyn sat beside me, gripping my wrist. "You have the truth, are you?" "That's enough," she said. Oh, how I wanted to believe her. But in court, truth isn't loud. It's buried, twisted into strategy. Isn't that unfair? Damon's lawyer painted me as a woman falling apart. My lawyer warned me, don't get emotional, don't speak unless asked, don't interrupt. But inside I was screaming. Mila saw it all, every tear I hid, every. "It's going to be okay," I whispered, even when I doubted it. I didn't realize how closely she was watching, how much she was listening, how she was planning. She was only 7, can you fathom that? Somehow she knew the truth mattered, knew the court had to see it. The custody hearing was set for a Monday morning, and I barely slept. Mila fell asleep clutching Pepper, and I sat by her bed until dawn, just watching her. My chest felt crushed, like a weight was pressing down. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a fight for her life, for everything I'd poured my heart into protecting. Didn't she deserve that my mom came with us that morning, wearing her silky church scarf, the one she saved for moments needing courage? She knew I was running on fumes. Mila wore her blue sunflower dress, her school tablet tucked in her backpack as always. In the car, she was quiet, staring out the window, humming a tune I didn't know. Was she nervous too? At the courthouse, Damon was already there in that same navy suit from our wedding rehearsal dinner. Back then, his smile had warmth. Now it was pure calculation. His lawyer, clipboard in hand, looked polished, their whispers sounding rehearsed. Damon glanced at me, then Mila, flashing a smile and a wave like nothing was wrong. Mila didn't wave back. Did she see through him? The courtroom felt like a stage, all polished wood and cold air. My name, Damon's, on the docket, but it wasn't just me being judged. It was the version of me he'd crafted on paper. When Judge Harmon entered, tall and no-nonsense, the room hushed. She didn't waste a second looking at Damon's attorney. "You may begin," she said, and my heart sank. What would they say next? Oh, can you believe how Damon's lawyer jumped right in, painting him as some perfect father? He went on about Damon's steady job, his spotless home, how he was supposedly shielding Mila from my so-called emotional chaos. He even pulled out texts between us, twisting them into something sinister. One where I admitted I was overwhelmed and exhausted. He called that proof of mental instability. Another where I asked Damon not to yell at me. That became evidence I was controlling and manipulative. Can you imagine the nerve? I sat there, heart sinking, as the man I once built a life with turned my every word into a weapon. When the judge asked Damon to speak, he didn't miss a beat. "She's not well," he said, cool as ice. "She tells our daughter I'm the bad guy. She confuses her, makes Mila afraid of me. I'm not doing this out of spite. I just want to protect her. Protect her." That word slapped me across the face. Judge Harmon turned to me, her eyes piercing. "Miss Lennox, do you have a response?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My words were trapped, pounding in my chest. My heart raced, my tongue felt like lead. All I could do was glance at Mila sitting behind me, her little legs swinging off the bench. Her eyes met mine, worried but fearless. How could she be so brave? My lawyer cleared his throat, mumbling something about my resilience and how single parenting is tough. It was weak, barely scratching the surface of the truth. No one mentioned how Damon cursed at me on the phone with Mila in the room. No one asked why Mila started bedwetting after his weekends. Those pieces of our story completely ignored. The judge jotted notes, nodding slightly, and then Damon stood again, his voice firm. "Your Honor, I want full custody. I believe my daughter is being emotionally harmed, and shared custody isn't in her best interest anymore. The walls closed and my breath caught my hands grip the chair. How could I shield Mila from this nightmare unfolding right before her eyes? Then, like a miracle, Mila let go of my mom's hand, stood up, and stepped forward. No hesitation, no permission needed. "Your Honor," she said, clear and steady. "I brought a video from Daddy's phone. I think you should see it." The room froze. Damon's face went blank. My mom gasped and I spun around, eyes wide. Mila stood there clutching her school tablet, shoulders squared, voice unshaken. Can you even fathom her courage? Judge Harmon blinked. "Excuse me." Mila lifted the tablet higher. "It's from last weekend. He didn't know I was awake, but I was. I heard what he said and I thought it might matter." Silence gripped the room, not a word from Damon, his lawyer, or the judge. For the first time that day, I felt a spark of hope. Mila hadn't just brought a video, she'd brought the truth, and it was electric. She stood in the courtroom's center, her sunflower dress a tad too small, the hem brushing her knees, but she didn't fidget or glance back for comfort. She faced the judge, a lone tablet held like a shield. "I brought a video from Daddy's phone," she repeated. "I think you should see it." Judge Harmon nodded to the bailiff. "Bring it here." Mila took a few steps, handed the tablet to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. The silence stretched taut as a tightrope. Damon's jaw clenched, his lips a thin line. His lawyer darted glances between him and the tablet. Neither moved. The judge angled the screen and tapped play. At first, just ambient noise, that quiet hum of a sleeping world. Then Damon's voice exploded, harsh, nothing like the polished tone he'd used in court. He was yelling, "You think you're so smart, huh? Go ahead. Try telling anyone you'll end up in a foster home, and don't think your precious mother can save you. She's pathetic." A chair scraped, a plate clattered. Mila's voice, soft and scared, whispered, "I'm sorry." He cut her off. "Don't talk back. You're lucky I even let you come over. If you say a word to her, I swear." The judge paused the video, staring at the screen. Damon shifted his lawyer, whispering frantically, but the judge's hand shot up, silencing them. "Where did this come from?" she asked, voice calm but firm. Mila didn't flinch. He left his phone on the couch. "I heard him yelling. I was scared, but I thought if someone heard it, they'd believe me and Mommy." My chest tightened. My little girl had been terrified, yet planned this with more bravery than most adults. I wanted to rush to her, hold her tight, tell her she shouldn't have had to do this. But I stayed put. This was her moment. Damon jumped in, voice strained. "Your Honor, that's out of context. I was disciplining her. She was misbehaving. And enough," the judge snapped, her voice slicing through the room. Damon fell silent. Judge Harmon looked at Mila. "Thank you for being brave. You can go back to your seat." Mila nodded, her steps slower, now the weight of it all settling in. My mom pulled her into her lap, holding her close. The judge turned to me. "Miss Lennox, anything else?" This time my voice emerged. "No, Your Honor." My daughter said it all. The judge nodded, leaned back, and closed her eyes briefly before scanning the room. "In light of this evidence, I'm calling for an immediate review of all custody arrangements. Until then, full temporary custody is granted to Miss Lennox. Supervised visitation only for Mr. Blake. Bailiff escort Mr. Blake out until further notice." Damon stood stunned. "You can't be serious." The bailiff stepped forward. Sir Damon hesitated, then stormed out, his lawyer scrambling after him. The courtroom cleared slowly, but we stayed, Mila's head on my mom's shoulder. I stood, knees shaky, and knelt beside her. "You were so brave," I whispered. She nodded, silent, the enormity of her act sinking in. She hadn't just spoken truth, she'd faced down someone who'd silenced her for years, and she'd changed everything. As Damon left under the bailiff's watch, the air shifted like a window cracking open in a suffocating room. I could breathe, not fully, but enough to feel my voice, my heart beat again. The judge left the bench, her face stoic, but her eyes held something new when they met Mila's, respect, pure and simple. I gathered our things, fingers trembling, as I packed Mila's bag. She stayed curled in my mom's arms, exhausted yet alert, her tablet beside her, screen dark. I took her hand. "Ready to go with me?" She nodded and slid off the bench. As we left, eyes followed us, some darted away, others lingered. One woman mouthed brave as we passed. Outside the courtroom, I knelt to Mila's, level hands on her arms. "Are you okay?" She shrugged, then whispered, I didn't want to do it, but I had to. I know, I said. I'm so proud. You shouldn't have had to carry that alone. She stared at the floor. I wasn't sure they'd believe me. My throat closed up. They did. You told the truth and you were strong when no one else could be. Mila's eyes shimmered with tears. Does this mean I don't have to go to Daddy's? I pulled her close, holding her tight. You're safe now. That's what matters. Oh, can you imagine the relief when the court officers handed us those final instructions? They outlined a temporary supervision schedule for Damon, who'd need a court-appointed counselor's evaluation before seeing Mila again. It wasn't over, not by a long shot. More hearings, more paperwork, more days in courtrooms that felt like war zones loomed ahead. But the heaviest battle that was behind us. That afternoon, we headed straight to my mom's house. No way could I face the quiet of our apartment, where silence sometimes roared too loudly in our small space. Mom, bless her heart, started simmering soup despite the warm May air. It's what I do on emotional days, she said, stirring the pot like it could tame the chaos in our hearts. Can you picture her finding calm in that simple act? Mila settled at the kitchen table, her crayons dancing across paper while I tackled more court forms on the couch. Suddenly, she walked over, her little hands clutching a drawing. Two hands cradled a heart, and beneath, in big wobbly letters, she'd written, "Truth is brave." Oh, my heart broke open, I cried. Then not those silent, hidden tears, but the kind that pour out when pain finally finds a way to escape. Mila didn't say a word. She just nestled beside me, her head resting on my arm. That night before bed, we dusted off our truth jar, neglected for weeks. I holds it in my lap as Mila sat across from me on her bed, her eyes curious. Want to go first? I asked. She shook her head, pointing to the top note. I unfolded it and read, "What happens when the truth hurts people?" I looked at her, stunned. You wrote this? She nodded, her voice soft. I didn't want to hurt Daddy. I just didn't want to be scared anymore. I reached for her hand, squeezing gently. The truth can sting, sweetheart, but silence, that hurts more. What you did today didn't harm anyone. It protected you, protected us. That's never wrong. She gazed at the jar, then whispered, Can we keep doing this? Every night, I promised. After she drifted off, I wandered to the living room, staring out the window. Streetlights flickered, cars zipped by, life kept moving, but our world, it had transformed. Damon no longer held the reins of our story or Mila's voice. For the first time since the divorce, I breathed deeply, knowing I wasn't alone in this fight. My little girl had faced a world far too heavy for her 7 years, and didn't just endure, she reshaped it. 4 weeks later, the final custody hearing arrived, and everything had shifted. The court-appointed counselor's report on Damon was damning, controlling behavior, emotional instability, no regard for Mila's well-being. He denied it all, of course, but that video, it roared louder than his lies ever could. Paired with Mila's statement, it sealed his fate. The judge's final ruling came, and I held my breath, not from fear this time, but from hope. Full physical and legal custody was mine. Damon got supervised visits twice a month at a neutral center, watched by professionals, no overnights, no closed-door weekends, no more whispered threats. Mila's voice had shattered his facade for good. We left the courthouse in silence, Mila's hand in mine, as we descended the long steps. Mom walked beside us, her purse-swinging eyes scanning for Damon, though we knew he'd steer clear. He hadn't spoken to me since that first hearing. Good riddance. That evening, we hit Mila's favorite diner with its red booths and animal-shaped pancakes. She sat across from me, twirling her straw in her chocolate milk. Is it over now? She asked. I didn't sugarcoat it. It's safer now, honey. We're still growing through this, but we're not afraid anymore. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. I'm glad I told. Me too, I said, my heart swelling. Some days I replay that courtroom scene, Damon's face draining of color, when Mila spoke, her clear, calm voice carrying more weight than any lawyer's argument. My daughter taught me strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the courage to speak when you're not sure anyone's listening. Isn't that profound? After the ruling, I started therapy again, not because I was crumbling, but because I finally had room to process what we'd survived. I'd been treading water so long, I'd forgotten how to feel safe. That would take time, but now I had time. Mila's drawings evolved too. Gone were the windowless houses and stormy skies. Now she sketched trees with deep roots, kids holding hands. She drew our truth jar and taped it to her bedroom wall, a daily reminder. Every night she'd nudge me to check it. One evening, I pulled out a note. Do brave people still get scared? I smiled. Yes, they do, but they don't let fear write the ending. A few days later, another note asked, can kids protect grown-ups too? I met her eyes. You did, Mila. I share this story because there are women out there silent, wondering if their truth will ever be enough, if anyone will believe them over someone who plays the perfect part in public. I tell it because sometimes truth doesn't come from lawyers or legal briefs. It comes from a child who's seen too much and decides silence isn't an option anymore. Isn't that powerful? I used to think good mothering meant shielding Mila from pain. Now I know it's standing beside her through it, teaching her to speak truth, letting her see my tears, then showing her how to rise again. We have tough days, but they don't define us. We're not the scared shadows Damon tried to cage us in. We're loud when we need to be quiet, when we choose, and free. Oh, so free. Mila saved us that day. Not just by bringing truth to that courtroom, but by bringing light. For the first time in years, I wasn't losing her. I was meeting her anew. If you're still reading, thank you. This story wasn't easy to share, but it's vital because somewhere another mom sits in silence, thinking no one will believe her. Maybe she needs this to keep going. If this moved you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment. I read them, and they mean the world. Want more raw, honest stories? Subscribe and hit notifications. There's more coming. Thanks for being here. Stay brave, stay kind, and never forget the truth matters.